Hi, my name is Nathan, and welcome to the Daily Word. On today's episode of the Daily Word, we'll be in Genesis chapter 6, verse 5. Let's read the scripture together on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
The Lord saw how great man's wickedness on the earth had become, and that every inclination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil all the time.
Our daily word for today is the word inclination. Let's say this word together. Inclination. So what does that word inclination mean? Well, one way to understand the word inclination is someone's natural tendency. So that might not help, but I'll explain it. Inclination is someone's natural tendency. So it's something that someone will typically do. It's something that they feel natural doing. So for example, if someone's inclination is to live in warm climate, it means that they are drawn to a warm climate, that when they're not in a warm climate, that when they're in a cold climate, just things don't function. You know, they can't think straight. It seems like the environment is working against the function of their body. So being in a warm climate, it's where they naturally tend to go to because of how that affects their body and their way of life. So their natural tendency or their inclination would be to choose a location that's warm. And we can think of different examples, but inclination is someone's natural tendency. It's where their heart tends to go to. So you can think of examples maybe of food. What are the inclinations when you think of where should I go to eat? You know, think about that on your own. What type of food would you naturally be inclined to go to? Your inclination of your heart, your natural tendency. So now that we have a basic understanding of the word inclination, the natural tendency of someone's heart, where you're drawn to, let's put it back into Genesis 6:5. What it says here is it says the inclination of man's heart, the inclination of people's heart was wickedness, was wicked all the time. That might sound like a severe statement, but when we think about it, when we self-reflect on that statement, that the inclination of our heart is evil, or the inclination of our heart is things that are wicked, I think it starts to make a lot of sense. When you think about what you naturally would rather do, would you naturally rather give someone your paycheck or buy things for yourself? Now that might not seem evil, that might not seem wicked, but at the root of that, it's the same thing. It's self-worship. It's a self-centered way of thinking. And when someone is self-centered, they care less and less for how their actions affect other people. They care less and less about how their desires affect other people because they're just focused on themselves. And that might start small. That might start as just, I want to buy myself something nice. But as you feed that, as you feed your inclination of your heart to serve yourself, it can bloom into a full-blown personality that alienates people, that cuts off friendships, that sets up divisions in families. It can get you fired because you're just thinking about yourself. It can destroy your job. You know, the nature of sin is to lead towards death. And that death can be physical, but it also can be the death of your jobs, your relationships, your hobbies, everything about you. As you feed that self-worship and self-centeredness, the inclination of your heart to be evil, not to be good and to be selfless, but to be evil and wicked, which is ultimately selfish, it will gradually erode and destroy the good things in your life. And that's the main point here, is not to let it go full blown where it becomes an extreme issue, but to catch it now while it's small, to realize that, gosh, when I think about my heart and what I would rather do, it tends to revolve around me. So don't let that get out of hand. Take that moment of conviction, say, Lord, change my heart so that I want to serve other people, that's where I find my joy. Change the inclination of my heart to love someone else first, to give to them before I take for myself. Our natural inclination of our heart is to serve ourselves, to make ourselves king of this world for us. And when Jesus comes into your life, your heart is changed, and the inclination of your heart changes. Instead of being inward focused, it's outward focused, because Jesus loved the world, and so will you as your heart changes. He will change the inclination of your heart from evil and wickedness and selfishness to holiness, righteousness, and selflessness. And that's how we're a light. That's how we bless, and that's how we share the message of Jesus, as the inclination of our heart is transformed. Well, that does it for today's episode of the Daily Word. If you like this video or you found it helpful, go ahead and click the subscribe button down below. And go ahead and practice this word. Think about, choosing a restaurant or choosing a style. What are the inclinations of your heart? But then in the context of this scripture, think about how your desires, when no one else is around, is to serve yourself, and is evil and is wicked. And then let the name of Jesus transform your heart, so that the inclinations of your heart become holy and righteous, and that they become good news to the world. Well, my name is Nathan, and this was your Daily Word. See you next time.